Hi everyone, it's Rax. I have been playing the Season 19 PTR feverishly, and Barbarians are finally back. I'm so excited for the new season, and this is the first of many videos I'll be making. I'm about to show you how to detonate Torment 16 with a Whirlwind Barb. And the nicest thing about this is you don't have to use the normal trick with gold wrap and all that stuff to get infinite toughness. You should be plenty tanky enough on its own, so you should be able to switch this over to solo GRs and smash those as well. Okay, so we'll open a rift and show you how it works. Whatever we get is whatever we get, and we won't click any pylons, so you guys can see the true strength of the build. As you can see, with no stacks from the seasonal buff and really just starting the rift, I was able to just melt that elite instantly. So the power of this is absolutely insane. Okay, so the gameplay here couldn't possibly be easier. This build would be amazing for someone just starting out for Diablo, or someone who wants pretty much the most chill and lazy build of all time. Okay, all you do is keep all your buffs up and hold right click and spin around. Okay, whenever Furious Charge is up, just Furious Charge forward into the next monsters. The reason why we take Furious Charge is it procs our Band of Might, and our Band of Might combined with our Molten Wildebeest Gizzard gives us enough survivability and enough of a shield to protect our Squirts buff. It's that 10 stacks on the left side. So your Squirts buff should be up pretty much all the time, and that's going to give you a major damage increase. Now, if you don't want to run Squirts, that's fine. You could run Flavor of Time. There are a lot of different variations here that work. So you use whichever one is the most fun for you and the one that works for you. But one thing that I will caution you on, a lot of people fall in love with movement speed. Now, movement speed is godly, right? Don't get me wrong. I love movement speed as well. But a lot of people build their barbarians just to move at the speed of light, and when every time you make one of those choices, usually it costs you something. It either costs you damage or it costs you survivability. I would say build your barbarian to be able to literally one-shot everything that it touches first, and then work on increasing its movement speed. I think that's the way to go. And somehow the rift is already over, and sayonara. Okay, let me show you how this build works in Diablo 3 Planner. Alright everyone, let me take you through all the skills and gear and show you how this works. So there has been a change to the way set in Season 16 that you can't see on D3 Planner yet. The 2-piece is the same, where Rend deals 500% increased damage. The 4-piece is the same, where Whirlwind gives you 50% damage reduction and Rend deals triple damage. But the 6-piece now, the 10,000% multiplier, now also applies to Rend. So this entire build is going to be based on dealing Rend damage, and Whirlwind is only going to be there to apply Rend, because the new legendary power for Ambos Pride is Whirlwind now applies Rend, and Rend deals all of its damage in 1 second instead of 15 with the set bonus. So that is an incredible damage increase. Okay, so everything is about Rend. We're not dealing any damage with Whirlwind. We're just using Whirlwind to apply Rend, and we're doing everything we can to buff Rend. Okay, let's start with Echoing Fury. Now, for Rend, it calculates its damage when you're dual wielding based on the damage of the main hand. Okay, so for that reason, between a mace and a sword, the mace has a higher damage range, that 2064 to 2778 versus 1809 to 2401. So we want to put the slow, high damage dealing mace in our main hand to deal the most damage with Rend. Okay, for that reason, we'll take damage, percent damage, strength, and we want cooldown everywhere we can possibly get it. Actually, the way that I've built this Whirlwind Barb, we're going to have so much cooldown, it's going to be ridiculous. So maybe we could find a couple places here and there to tone the cooldown down a bit. But anyway, cooldown is quality of life. And Echoing Fury, we take this not for the attack speed. We shouldn't need any attack speed to get to the 2 attacks per second to apply Rend for the Lamentation. but we take it because Echoing Fury gives us increased movement speed. And we're going to socket everything with crit hit damage, and we're going to take crit hit damage and crit hit chance whenever we can. The interesting thing is Ren cannot crit, but stacking crit hit damage and crit hit chance is going to give you a multiplier, which does make Ren deal more damage. So just like normal, we will take crit hit damage and crit hit chance, even though it can't crit. So since the damage is calculated off of the main hand, the Ambo's Pride in the offhand will essentially just be a stat stick, and you can take strength, elite damage, and cooldown on that. And we'll be augmenting everything with strength. The waist boots, we'll take the full waist set here. Whenever we can, we will take all resist because we will gain armor by having strength already. So we'll take the strength, vit, all resist, and we'll just take the armor as the fourth roll because there's nothing better to get. The waist pants, again, strength, vit, all resist. And strength gems you should take if you just want additional damage. You should take diamonds if you don't have enough survivability to protect your Squirts buff, okay? Band of Might, whenever we use Furious Charge, we're going to take 80% reduced damage. That's going to allow us, again, to protect our Squirts buff. Same thing with the Molten Wildebeest Gizzard that we have socketed there. The reason we take that is for a shield to make sure that our 100% damage buff stays up all the time. And crit cooldown is what we want here, and if you find that your cooldown is overkill with the way that I built my barb, which it very well may be, you could change the cooldown for the damage range. Avarice Band, this is going to pick up all the orbs that we run over for us, so it's just for quality of life. I did not use Boon of the Hoarder and Gold Wrap for the infinite survivability here. I found that I didn't need it, but that's definitely another option for you. I'm running with Taguk. It's massive damage increase and it's big survivability. Again, it will help protect your Squirts buff. I would start with Taguk as you're leveling up your barb, and as you get stronger, if you want to, you could switch to Boon of the Hoarder. Lamentation. Rend is now going to stack twice. That's big damage. We want strength, vit, all resist, and life rolls on this one. The waist hands, we shouldn't need attack speed, so we'll take strength, crit, and cooldown. On the shoulders, strength, vit, cooldown, and rend damage. Rend damage can roll on the shoulders and on the chest, so we'll take strength, vit, rend on the chest along with all the sockets. And the Helm of the Waist, strength, vit, and crit is what we want, and we'll socket with a diamond for increased cooldown. Squirts buff, if we don't take damage, we do 100% more damage. This is what we're trying to protect the whole time. Physical crit is what we want. Even though we don't have rend on our bars, the base rend attack is physical. That's why we take physical, even though our Whirlwind is lightning. Remember, our Whirlwind does no damage. It's all rend, and rend is physical. That's why we take physical elemental here. We'll socket with Wreath of Lightning just to move faster. Again, in the beginning, if you find that you do not have enough damage, take Bane of the Trapped instead and switch to movement speed later on as you get stronger. Nemesis Bracers, when we touch a pylon or a shrine, we're going to get an elite. That's what we want. Physical, strength, vit, and crit are the best rolls here. Now let me take you through the skills. Ignore Pain is going to give us 50% damage reduction. It's going to make us immune to crowd control effects, but mostly it just gives us 40% move speed. Warcry Impunity, it's going to give us some survivability. The real reason I take this is because I cube Chelonics Chain just so I can move 40% faster. But these two things are survivability, again, to protect Squirts. Same thing with Furious Charge. We take this to proc our Band of Might. So we take reduced damage, protect our Squirts, and it also is just a very nice skill in order to move forward and move quickly through the rift, and in some cases to protect your seasonal buff. Okay, so charge into a big group of enemies with the Merciless Assault rune, and you will be able to keep it up all the time. Wrath the Berserker Insanity, big damage increase. That's why we have the cooldown everywhere to bring it back up all the time. Battle Rage is going to give us increased damage and increased movement speed. You should only need to cast this once or twice per rift, and it will be up all the time. Whirlwind Wind Shear. The reason that we use Whirlwind is so we can apply Rend from the Ambo's Pride Legendary, and we take the Wind Shear rune because it's going to allow us to maintain our Fury. Boon of Bolcathos, this is going to reduce our cooldown of Wrath the Berserker by 30 seconds. Berserker Rage, while we're near Max Fury, we're going to deal 25% increased damage. You should be pretty much near Max Fury all the time with Whirlwind, Wind Shear, as long as you're continuously fighting. If you find that this is not working for you, you could switch this for the Brawler passive, which is 20% increased damage. Ruthless, we deal 40% damage to enemies below 30% health. In case anything survives, with which pretty much nothing will, we'll be able to kill them, and it also helps with the Guardian. And Rampage, we increase our strength by 1% for 8 seconds after killing or assisting in killing an enemy, stacking 25 times. This is big damage increase, and this should be up all the time. iCube Messerschmitt's Reaver, which allows me to have infinite cooldowns by killing enemies, is going to bring back everything all the time. Chelonics Chain, as I explained, is going to make you run faster with Warcry. And Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac is again going to bring back the cooldown of all of your skills by 1 when you hit with an attack. Now, some people may be thinking this is complete overkill, right? We have cooldown rolled everywhere. We have Messerschmitts and we have Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, and it is overkill. But the quality of life is very high. We already move extremely fast, and we pretty much one-shot everything. So, I don't know. If you want to make some changes, if you want to run COE here instead, you can, but you already one-shot everything. If you wanted to take Furnace instead of Messerschmitt's Reaver, you can, but once again, you pretty much already one-shot everything. It's totally up to you. I like the quality of life. I like the infinite cooldowns. Okay? For the Paragon, put it into movement speed first, then the rest into strength. You really shouldn't need any vitality. The survivability on this is outrageous. In fact, the whole point is not to take a single point of damage. Cooldown first, then the crit hit chances, and then attack speed last. All resist first, then life, then armor, and life per second last. Although life per second is actually pretty good with the Molten Wildebeest Gizzard, so life per second is pretty good as long as you're wearing that gem. And then resource cost reduction and life per hit. Area damage only works with Rend if you have Rend on your bars, which we don't. And the reason that we don't put Rend on our bars is we don't need an additional rune to do enough damage to crush everything, but if you want to do that, you can. Area damage only applies from manually casted Rends, not the Rends that Whirlwind applies, so it actually does nothing for you. So I would recommend not putting in these points ever, so you don't lag the game from proccing area damage off of Whirlwind for no reason, because Whirlwind doesn't do any damage anyway. Well, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'm so happy that Barbarians are back on my stream now. I'm going to start solo pushing and seeing every single ounce of power I can extract out of this build. And we're also working on making some Whirlwind speed metas, and I'm thinking that they may actually compete with rat runs this season, which is amazing to have another alternative. We'll be making many more guides. Please like and subscribe if this helped you, and I will see you again. Thank you.